Hi, moms. I am so excited to share with you today about something that deeply impacts our family: secure attachment. As moms, we all want our kids to grow up feeling safe, loved, and confident. But what does it actually take for a child to develop secure attachment? I'll be drawing from the work of Dr. Dan Allender, Dr. Adam Young, and Dr. Dan Siegel to walk us through the Big Six. The 6 core needs that, when met consistently, help our kids develop a sense of security and resilience. Attachment in childhood is the emotional bond between a child and their primary caregivers. It shapes how our children see themselves, others, and the world. Dr. Dan Siegel describes secure attachment as the foundation for emotional regulation, confidence, and healthy relationships. When children experience consistent, loving, attuned caregiving, they develop a sense of safety in the world and in themselves. In contrast, insecure attachment can lead to struggles with trust, self-worth, and emotional regulation. Dr. Adam Young, a trauma therapist, emphasizes that attachment is not just about meeting physical needs, but about providing emotional safety. And Dr. Dan Allender highlights that every child is asking, "Am I seen, safe, and secure?" And how we answer these questions through our presence and responsiveness shapes their entire development and lays the foundations for how they will engage with relationships for the rest of their lives. So, what do kids actually need to develop secure attachment? Because trust, self-worth, emotional regulation, and healthy relationships all sound pretty great. But before I give you the Big Six, I want to start with this. No parent gets it right 100% of the time. Please don't listen to these needs and start beating yourself up over your parenting failures, because we are all very adept at failing as parents. But be encouraged. Research has shown that you only need to do these things 50% of the time for you to have the positive outcomes that you're looking for. And hold out for the last of the 6, because there is so much room for mistakes and failure with that one. Okay, with that disclaimer, let's jump in. The first core need is attunement. This is the parent's desire and ability to read their child's emotional state, paying sufficient attention to what is happening inside their heart, for you to have some idea of what's going on inside of them. For those of us who can remember the glory days of the radio, you had to tune in to the right frequency to get the station you were looking for. You could spin a knob this way and that until you hit the right wavelength. Static, 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 and then all of a sudden you get the music coming through. This is what it is like to tune into a child. It takes attention and intentionality. You have to notice. When a mom or a dad is distracted by their own needs, emotions, or trauma, they often fail to attune to what is happening in their child. But by paying attention to their face, their body, their eyes, and being curious about their internal world, we can attune to our kids. Now, this is not about fixing every problem, but being emotionally available and present. Dr. Dan Siegel calls this feeling felt. Someone gets you, and someone wants to get you, so they can be there for you. The core of attunement is not even reading your child right, but by recognizing when your child is feeling unheard or unseen, and then pressing in to try to understand, turning that dial through the static until you get the music. The Psalms talk about how tuned in God is to us. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. Psalm 139:4. God, our good Father, is so tuned into us that he knows what we're going to say even before we say it. And while we certainly can't be that attuned to our kids, we can tune into their emotional experience and help them feel felt. The second core need is responsiveness. If attunement is paying attention and knowing what your child is feeling, responsiveness is how we, respond. Responding in a meaningful way that provides comfort, care, and kindness when things are not well in your child's heart. Oftentimes, a response to our kids might look like dismissal, a brushing off or a minimizing, or it could look like ignoring, failure to even acknowledge the emotions, or even indifference and a lack of interest in a child's feelings and experiences. A child needs to know that a parent will respond to them with empathy, care, and safety. This can look like having to leave the park when it's time to go, or not wanting to go to school, or being distraught at losing a soccer game. You can be attuned to their inner experience and emotions, and you can respond with empathy, all while holding boundaries. My 4-year-old is still going to go to school even when she really doesn't want to, even when she is distressed by the thought of going. By being attuned and responsive, that doesn't mean that I pave the way for her to get everything she wants. She is still going to go to school, and she is still going to wear her uniform, even though what she really wants to wear is her floor-length, multi-tiered, vibrantly pink princess gown. But rather than rushing her into her uniform or saying, "Too bad, I don't care, this is what we're doing," I can slow down, I can look her in the eyes, I can hold her close, I can repeat back what she's telling me. You don't want to go to school. You don't want to wear your uniform. You want to wear your princess dress. I can tune in to her genuine, albeit untimely distress and respond with empathy. And then after a couple of minutes, I help her into her uniform and we are off to school. Isaiah 65:24 says, "Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear." In Jeremiah 33, it says, "Call to me and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things." God responds to us. Before we even call on him, he knows what's going on with us and what we need. The third core need is engagement. This is a pursuit of the heart, a drawing out of a child's hopes, dreams, fears, and desires. Do you know what makes your child tick? Are you actively discovering who they are? Do you delight in them? A child needs to know that their parents want to know them and enjoy their presence. Dr. Kurt Thompson puts it this way: we enter the world looking for someone looking for us. Our deepest desire is that there will be someone looking for us, to know us, enjoy us, and delight in us. Children need to know they're important to us, that they are a beloved son, a beloved daughter, just as we are God's beloved children, and he delights in us. For the Lord takes delight in his people, Psalm 149. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. It even says he will rejoice over you with singing, Zephaniah 3:17. Listen to Psalm 27:8. My heart has heard you say, "Come and talk with me." And my heart responds, "Lord, I am coming." God says to us, "Come and talk with me. Come, spend time with me. I delight in your presence." The fourth core need is the ability to regulate their affect. Affect is basically your internal energy. There are two parts to affect: arousal and valence. Arousal is how excited or shut down you may be. Valence is how good or bad that arousal is feeling in your body. For example, when your favorite football team scores their winning touchdown, you are experiencing high arousal and high valence. When you fly into a rage over someone cutting you off in traffic, you are experiencing high arousal and low valence. You might have low arousal and high valence when you're snuggled up in bed with a hot cup of tea and a good book and it's raining outside. Low arousal and low valence might look like shutting down and withdrawing after someone makes a mean comment towards you. Our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems are the gas and the brakes on arousal. The dance between these two systems, which is how we manage our emotions, is not developed at all in an infant and is just barely developed in a child. And the way it develops is by being others regulated. A child borrows our mature nervous systems to help theirs learn how to flow between the gas and the brakes. As they get older and their systems have had thousands of reps with another person and their prefrontal cortex develops, which is kind of like the clutch, they will begin to be able to do this themselves. But in the beginning, they need help. And if you've never had help doing this, it's likely that you might struggle with it. The beautiful thing is that with some reflection, some good friends, a little practice, and a lot of Jesus, you can absolutely grow in your ability to regulate your own affect. The fifth core need is a parent who is strong enough to handle a child's big emotions. This is when the child feels the freedom to express their big emotions, cry, rage, or fall silent, knowing that they will be responded to in a loving way. Emotions are accepted, allowed, and even welcome in your home. They're allowed to cry, allowed to get angry. Dr. Adam Young calls it the ability to bear the weight of your unedited soul. If you have ever wondered if big feelings are allowed in the Bible, I would like to direct your attention to David, a man after God's heart, who also sometimes sounds remarkably like my kids. I am in distress. My eyes grow weak with sorrow. My life is consumed by anguish, and my bones grow weak. Psalm 31. My tears have been my food for day and night. Psalm 42. I am worn out from my groaning all night long. I flood my bed with weeping and drench my couch with tears. Psalm 6. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, drama, because there are some huge emotions in here. But the way that David deals with them is by sharing them with the Lord. When he shares his huge, overwhelming feelings with the Lord, he is able to come back to a place of trust and safety with God. But he did not do that by stuffing his emotions or going to his room until he felt better. He did it by sharing them with God. And sometimes he did it in a whiny or ragey way. I do want to caveat, while all emotions are okay with our kids, not all behaviors are. I still set limits on my kids' behaviors when they are mad and ragey. The thing is, I do it with empathy to how they are feeling. The story of Elijah in 1 Kings 19 is a great example of God being able to handle our big emotions and regulate our affect. In verses 1 through 4, Elijah flees into the wilderness, overwhelmed and afraid after Queen Jezebel threatens his life. He collapses under a tree and prays to die, saying, I have had enough, Lord, take my life. This is Elijah in a complete emotional and physical shutdown, low arousal, low valence. In verses 5 through 8, God knows just how to respond to Elijah's dysregulation. And it's not a lecture on how he should trust in God. First, it's a nap and a snack. Then Elijah retreats to a cave and pours out his heart in verses 9 through 10, saying, I have been very zealous for the Lord, but I am the only one left, and now they are all trying to kill me. Elijah is stuck in a cycle of despair and isolation, and God listens. When Elijah has had his moment, God calls him out of the cave, and God reveals himself, not through a powerful wind or an earthquake or a fire, but in a gentle whisper. God meets Elijah in his fragile, dysregulated state with tenderness, not with force. In verses 14 through 18, God asks again, what are you doing here, Elijah? Inviting Elijah to process his emotions for a second time. After providing for his physical needs, hearing out his emotions, and responding with gentle connection, now God moves on and gives Elijah a new purpose and reassures him he's not alone. There are still 7,000 others who follow God. God validates Elijah's feelings, offers comfort, and then helps him re-engage with his calling, restoring meaning and hope. Here is a picture of a God who is attuned, responsive, engaged, able to help Elijah regulate his affect, and strong enough to handle his big emotions. The final core need is willingness to repair. Like I stated early, each one of us knows all too well we are going to mess up as parents. God may be a perfect parent to us, but we are not always a perfect parent to our kids. But in his wisdom, God has a plan for our mistakes, and that is repair. You will wound your child. No parent is always attuned, responsive, and engaged. No parent will always be able to regulate their child's affect. Let's be honest, oftentimes I'm just trying to regulate myself. And no parent is always going to be able to perfectly manage the tension between allowing feelings and holding boundaries on behavior. It's not that you get it right all the time. It's that you are able and willing to recognize when you missed the mark, when you hurt or dismissed or missed what was happening with your child, and you initiate the repair. This is good news for us. Our parenting failures are not what matters most. What matters most is repair, going back and making things right when there's a rupture in relationship. Dr. Siegel teaches that repairing with our kids teaches them it's okay to make mistakes and to come back from them. It teaches our kids how to navigate relationships in a healthy way because all relationships will experience rupture, and we can model for them healthy ways to repair that rupture. Now, God is perfect, and he doesn't cause rupture in our relationships. And yet, even though the rupture in our relationship with him was in no way his fault, he still initiated the repair for us. God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. I am so very thankful for the repair and restoration that God initiated for us. Those are the big six. Secure attachment isn't about being a perfect parent. It's about being a present parent. By meeting these 6 core needs, attunement, responsiveness, engagement, affect regulation, handling big emotions, and repair, we are building a foundation that will serve them for life. Now, before I end, I want to take a moment to have you shift your perspective from how you are implementing these in your own parenting journey. Take a moment to think back to the way that you were parented. Did your parents provide you with the big 6? What type of attachment do you carry into adulthood? How does that affect your present relationships? Working to understand your own story is one of the greatest gifts you can give your child. By thinking deeply about what happened in your own early childhood, you can make a sense of your developmental story. Dr. Adam Young says, neuroscience has demonstrated that if you want to improve your parenting, the number one thing to do actually has nothing to do with changing how you engage with your kids. The number one thing you can do is to engage your origin story and make sense of your life experiences. Parenting from the Inside Out by Dr. Dan Siegel is a great place to start if you are interested in exploring this. Thank you so much for letting me share with you today.